Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Women's World. Today's edition of the program is going to be dedicated to the parliamentary elections. Now, last week, the first phase of the elections, of the parliamentary elections took place. Now, today is the second or the round off for the first stage of the parliamentary elections. So today it's for the expats and tomorrow it's going to take place in the governorate of last week. That includes, of course, the governorate of Alexandria, a governorate that has been affected by the bad weather. We will be discussing everything regarding the elections, the participation of women, the turnout in the first phase of the elections, and everything regarding the elections in this edition of the program. But first, we're going to take a look at some interesting headlines for women. Stay with us. Welcome back. NCW holds a seminar on the importance of political participation of women. The National Council for Women, NCW, continues its efforts to raise the political awareness of women. NCW branch in Kafr Sheikh Governorate held a seminar for the women of the Governorate on the importance of their participation in the parliamentary elections. More news regarding the elections. 6 recommendations for 31 Egyptian human rights organizations on proper representation of women in the parliament. For proper representation of women in parliament, that was the title of the list of requests called for by more than 46 party and human rights groups to the cabinet and members of the Legislative Reform Committee. The signatories said that despite the significant role of women in the 25th of January and 30th of June revolutions, yet their representation was only 2% in the previous parliament and did not assume leadership positions in the state. They called for appointing women as governors as well. And women launched Syrian Women Union to enhance their role in preserving the society. A number of women launched the Syrian Women Union with the aim of enhancing the role of women in preserving and developing the society. The women launched the union in Damascus, Syria, under the title Syrian Women in Crisis. Participants highlighted the role of Syrian women in the reconstruction of Syria and developing the Syrian society. And finally, the UN chooses Emirati woman Uhud Al-Rumi as the first Arab member of the International Board of Entrepreneurship. The United Nations chose Uhud Al-Rumi, the Director General of the Cabinet Office, as a member of the International Board for Entrepreneurship, thus becoming the first Arab to obtain this membership. She is the first Arab to win this membership, thus reflecting the leading role of Emirati women on the global level. Now we're going to watch in a short break the voting of Egyptian expats, and then we'll be back to discuss with our guest today, Mrs. Hidayat Abdelnabi, the journalist and expert in women's affairs, regarding the participation of women in the elections and more regarding the parliamentary elections. Stay with us.
حلمنا إصلاح حلمنا تغيير حلم كبير محتاج لضمير حلم إصلاح حلمنا تغيير مصر مش محتاجة حد مصر محتاجة لولادها محتاجانا نقف بجد شيل ايدين الظلم عنا مصر مش محتاجة حد مصر محتاجة لولادها محتاجانا نقف بجد شيل ايدين الظلم عنا مصر محتاجة الضمير.
نشارك في انتخابات البرلمان الجاية لأنها استحقاق مهم جدا. لازم نشارك فيه علشان يكون عندنا سلطة تشريعية.
إن شاء الله هشارك.
إن شاء الله هشارك. نشارك لأن المشاركة دي حاجة وطنية.
بقولك احنا احسن، مش بقول عايزينها لينا. كل املي تبقى احسن، بين ايدين بتخاف علينا. مش بقولك احنا احسن، مش بقول عايزينها لينا. كل املي تبقى احسن، بين ايدين بتخاف علينا. حد عنده يا ناس ضمير؟ مصر مش محتاجة حد، مصر محتاجة لولادها، محتاجانا نقف بجد، شيل ايدين الظلم عنها. مصر مش محتاجة حد، مصر محتاجة لولادها، محتاجانا نقف بجد، شيل ايدين الظلم عنها. مصر محتاجة الضمير، ضمير. حد نفوت عشاننا، حد يحفظها في مكاننا، حد يحميها لولادها، عنده عدل وعنده دين. حد نفسه يموت عشانها، حد يحفظها في مكاننا، حد يحميها لولادها، عنده عدل وعنده دين. حد عنده يا ناس ضمير. مصر مش محتاجة حد، مصر محتاجة لولادها، محتاجانا نقف بجد، شيل ايدين الظلم عنها. مصر مش محتاجة حد، مصر محتاجة لولادها، محتاجانا نقف بجد، شيل ايدين الظلم عنها. محتاجة الضمير. مصر محتاجة الضمير.
Welcome back. Today I will be discussing with my dear guest Mrs. Hidayat Abdelnabi, editor-in-chief of the People's Rights magazine, the second round or the second phase of the parliamentary elections. The parliamentary elections is the third step of the roadmap. Now there are various circumstances shaping up elections. Well, let me welcome you first, Mrs. Hidayat. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
Let's watch your profile and then we'll be right back. Stay
All
with
right.
us. Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, today we are discussing the parliamentary elections. Now, today is the runoff for Egyptian expats, and there is a lot of circumstances surrounding this election. So we are very much honored to have with us Mrs. Hidayat Abdelnabi, editor-in-chief of People's Rights magazine. Now, Mrs. Hidayat, let me ask you in the beginning, how do you see the electoral process in general?
Well, before the election started, I think most of us here and abroad, we were very enthusiastic, and we thought that people will pile in the thousands for casting their votes. The result was not very good. I mean, the number of people who went to the polls were few. Even some poll stations had less than 5 people, which is I mean, sorrowful to see. But, I mean, still there was an electoral process. However, the run-up for the first round is coming at a moment where Alexandria has a national calamity. We all have a national calamity. Yes. And my heart goes to the people of Alexandria and to the people who lost their lives in Alexandria. So, of course, we are all involved in that calamity, that catastrophe, and therefore I think it will affect also somewhat the turnout tomorrow and the day after.
To a great extent, of course, because the streets are flooded and people...
No, I don't mean in Alexandria only, I think nationally. Because I see Alexandria as a symbol of failure. And therefore everybody in Egypt is involved in it.
What about voting abroad, Mrs. Hidayat? Now we have some footage for the voting for Egyptian expats around the world. How do you see that? Because today is the runoff for expats.
Yeah, I think I'm very impressed with the enthusiasm of Egyptians abroad. They know that the next parliament is very important for their lives, for their children and grandchildren, and they are very encouraged to participate. I was in Ottawa, Canada, when the first round started, and I saw around me Egyptians running to the embassy before the deadline, 9 p.m. And they said they were very well received, and they cast their vote, and it went on very well. So I think Egyptians abroad are playing an important role, and of course you know that several thousands of votes can tip the result. So therefore the Egyptian abroad vote is a very important vote.
Yes, of course. But do you expect the same enthusiasm by Egyptian expats today in the runoff for the elections?
Well, I think yes, because still they do know that they do recognize the importance of the next parliament. Maybe we in Egypt, because of the Alexandria calamity, we are involved in another story, a very big story. So I think the vote will go on well abroad. Okay.
Back home, the first phase of the elections went very smooth, despite the relatively low turnout that was 20.3 or 0.4%, and expectations were actually higher than that. And the government had to give the civil servants or people who work for the state, they gave them the second day as half working day, and perhaps this
I disagree on that. I think they should have given them a full day.
Exactly. Now that was my question, because when that happened, even giving them half day, that affected the turnout, and people, the number of people going to the polling stations actually increased. So do you think that the government should do the same?
Well, I think giving tomorrow and the day after as a holiday, I think, is important, because we know how congested Cairo is and other governorates. If you go to any governorate in Egypt, the capital of the governorate is a replica of Cairo. Yes. So meaning that it is congested in traffic, the same intensity of breakdowns in the nerves of people and so on. So commuting from one place to the other is not an easy task.
Yes. Especially in this weather.
We don't know tomorrow and the day after. Maybe it turns bad. Yeah. Maybe it turns bad. So I think it's wise to do that, and we hope turnout will be better in the runoff.
Okay. One of the remarkable aspects of the first phase of the elections is the participation of women. Now, as I was talking to our correspondents all over the country, they said that women in particular and the elderly were the major participants in the elections, and there was a very low turnout by the youth. How do you see that?
Well, that's very interesting, because according to the official statistics of the first round, it was women were 4-1. That's remarkable. A great achievement by women. But I think that it is time for women to be recognized, because if you take that ratio 4-1, you will never get the representation of 4-1 in Parliament.
Exactly.
Okay, flip the figure, 1-4.
Okay.
And if it's 1-4, it means about 140 members would be women. And of course, this will not happen in the next Parliament. And therefore, I urge that there would be a revision of that part in the Constitution, so that women have assigned seats, not assigned, but a block of seats that are equivalent to the role in society.
There are expectations that actually many women would be appointed in the percentage of the...
28, there are 28 people who will be appointed,
exactly.
right?
And there are expectations that this would include a high number of women.
Yeah, but this will not lead to 140 women members. And I urge that there would be a change, because it is very important. You can't have women at the front line in the presidential elections, and they were the real makers of our new president, and also in the Constitution, and now in Parliament, and then be a slight minority. No, this is unfair.
Okay, and now I want to ask you also about the activities of the non-governmental organizations and the civil society in raising the awareness of women to be candidates and to go and vote and practice their political rights. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it was very positive along the whole year. I mean, even before the year started, during the Constitution referendum, NGOs played a very, very important role. Most NGOs urged women to be active, and I think it is a turning point in the work of NGOs, that side of, empowering women,
yes,
which is really respectful.
Well, I think now we have with us Mr. Tahir al-Sharif. We will try to get him back online. He is the chairman of the Egyptian-British Chamber of Commerce, to tell us about the voting of Egyptian expats. We'll try to get him back on the line. But in the meantime, let me continue my discussion with my dear guest, Mrs. Hidayat Abdelnabi, about how do you see the monitoring of non-governmental organizations and people from various embassies who visited the polling stations?
Well, to be honest and frank, this was a divided opinion. There were those who praised the practice and those who had criticism for what was going on.
I'm sorry, let me interrupt you, Mrs. Hidayat, because we have with us Mr. Tahir from London. Good day to you, Mr. Tahir.
Good morning.
Sir, how do you see the participation of Egyptian expats today? Today is the runoff for the parliamentary elections, and you being the chairman of the Egyptian-British Chamber of Commerce, how do you see today's runoff?
Really, unfortunately, the second round of the first phase is coming on working days. It's going to be today and tomorrow. And here in Europe and all, you cannot leave your job and go for voting. And ballot boxes here, it's only one ballot box in London, at the embassy in London. And I'm not sure that the people will be able to come in to that ballot box and vote, especially for those who are outside London, like in Scotland, like in Wales, like in New Hampshire, all around the United Kingdom. Okay, so this is really a very difficult time for people to come and vote.
Yes.
You know, and I'm expecting a lesser voting than the first phase. You know, here in London, the first phase we had 280 votes only showed up in the on the first and second days. We are expecting a lesser number of voters to come. So the other thing is that, you know, the same problem that still the people in Europe, the people in the United Kingdom, they are not aware of the constituencies.
Yes.
And also they are not aware of who is who.
The candidates.
They are not the candidates and who
That
is
was
running.
that's very important. I was just going to discuss that with my dear guest, Mrs. Zidet Abdelnabi, here in the studio, because it seems to be a problem not only for Egyptian expats, but for us here, that we don't know many of the
local
candidates.
Egyptians, yeah.
On the
Yeah.
individual, of course, for the individual
And
seats.
in the meantime, the candidates, they didn't bother to come
And reach out for the
to
voters.
campaign for themselves for to the expats. Okay, this is really one of the issues. If
They didn't even use social media, sir, in this regard. I mean, it would have been easier to use the social media to get in contact with the voters.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And yeah, but there are so many proposals that we are, as Egyptian expats living in the United Kingdom and in Europe and the United States and Australia, you know, we are, I mean, putting a proposal on the table of the government to create constituencies on a continental level. Meaning that if you create a constituency for the Egyptian expats in Europe, another one in the United States, another one in Africa and North Africa, and the Gulf, and as well in Australia, and so on and so forth. So if you create those constituencies and ask the Egyptian expats to come and vote for those candidates, okay, that would be more practical than asking those expats to vote for people they do not know and they are not aware of.
Yes.
Okay, this proposal may indulge more expats in the democratic life of Egypt. You know, more than the current situation. Unfortunately, and really, it's sad to see the ballot boxes in the Egyptian embassies around the world empty, and no people are keen to go and vote, despite the fact that the government has spent a massive amount of money, okay, to run those voting process. But anyway, I hope that the constitution or the coming parliament can take into consideration our proposal to create constituencies outside Egypt for the Egyptian expats around the world.
Certainly. Mr. Tahir Sharif, Chairman of the Egyptian British Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much. That was a very insightful view. Thank you very much. And before we wrap it up, because we are running out of time now, Mr. Tahir put hands on and raised very important issues such as the problems facing particularly Egyptian expats, the polling stations, choosing a day that is a working day. And there are several solutions that have been suggested before, such as e-voting, for example, creating constituencies, as he mentioned. How do you see that?
Well, first thing, I think that there should be a revision during the next round of elections, that for Egyptians abroad, expats, yes, abroad, it would be Saturdays and Sundays,
yes,
and not a working day. There is no need for wasting time and wasting effort, and then no people go to the polls.
Yes.
Two, I would urge also e-voting. That's a good idea. Abroad, there is no problem in e-voting. If inside the country there is fear of some playing around with e-voting, then it could be valid, but abroad it's very difficult to do it.
Yes.
And I think you should facilitate the voting process. I mean, all over the world, voting is a very easy process. Egyptians to vote, go through an ordeal. So I hope it changes by time.
And I hope that in the second round, at least here in Egypt, the candidates would reach out for the voters, because as he mentioned, that was a problem.
It's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem because many of us,
everybody talks to the other by
don't know
phone,
who
asking
is.
who do you recommend during
Yes.
the runoff.
Exactly.
And for the next round in November.
Yes.
And this is, it's a shame.
It's a shame, but I hope that they can overcome this obstacle.
I mean, you will hear people saying, to be safe, I will go to the party which represents ideas
Yes.
that coincide with my ideas,
Yes,
but not the person.
exactly.
But I want to add something quickly, is that I really feel sorry for the language that happened during the first round between some candidates, and the level of that language, and that it should never used again, because I don't want my representative in Parliament to be at that level.
Yes, that's a very valid point. Mrs. Hidayat Abdel Nabi, the editor-in-chief of the People's Rights magazine, thank you very much for coming today and
Thank you.
sharing your ideas in this regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in this edition of Women's World. Today was a very special edition dedicated to the parliamentary elections, the obstacles and challenges facing us in this round of the elections. See you again next week, same time. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi, signing off.